PR Connections Radio presents
Welcome to Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. And the NFL draft has come and gone, and it has been an exciting time to be a football fan to watch the 2023 NFL draft. But now it is our job here on Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media, to give you a little recap about the NFL draft, to give you kind of a brief rundown on a select few teams here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here in Las Vegas, the greatest city to ever exist. So with it being Las Vegas, we got to start off with that team right behind me. We got to start with Allegiant Stadium. We got to start with your Las Vegas Raiders. And the Las Vegas Raiders get an A- for me because of one main reason. The Las Vegas Raiders, they kept to the script. The Las Vegas Raiders, even though I don't agree with some of their picks, they focused on needs and they went after the needs. All right, this was a Las Vegas Raiders team that had to go after defense. So they went out and went and got defense. I mean, let's just talk about it from a realistic perspective. Let's talk about their first pick of the night, and that was Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. Now, this was a guy in Tyree Wilson that should have been a top 5 pick, but fell to number 7. This is a guy in Tyree Wilson who will take a lot of pressure off of Max Crosby this upcoming year. I am a big fan of Tyree Wilson. I think that he was an excellent pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. He has a lot of upside. There is a good amount of potential with Tyree Wilson. I like his bull rush, his swim technique. This is a guy in Tyree Wilson who I think can get a lot of pressure to the quarterback. And when you have Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell freaking Wilson on your division, you got to have somebody to get to the quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders did that with Tyree Wilson. It was a great move by them. And then the second round, the Las Vegas Raiders made another solid move, and that was trading up in the draft to get Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer. Now, Michael Mayer was supposed to be a first-round pick. A lot of people had him being as projected a top 15, top 20 pick in the draft in 2023. So for a guy who was supposed to go in the top 15, for the Raiders to get him as a steal in the second round is amazing for Las Vegas. I also like the fact that you got rid of Darren Waller, you sent him to the New York Giants, and instead you find his replacement in the second round with a talented individual like Michael Mayer. So I think he will be a day one asset. He will be a starter on the Raiders this upcoming season, and I like to see what potential he has, as after all, everybody who watched the 49ers the last couple of years knows that Jimmy Garoppolo loves his tight ends. So Tyree Wilson, great pick. Michael Mayer is a steal in round 2. So far, 2 picks in, 2 amazing picks for the Las Vegas Raiders. In the third round, they add depth at these spots. Now, these are spots that I don't think are going to be day one starters. I don't see them making a big impact right away. But what I like about Byron Young and Trey Tucker is the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders were lacking depth at defensive tackle. They lacked depth at the receiver position. They went out and they got players that can be able to add to that position. Byron Young, he'll be a guy that will sit for a while. I think he'll make a few plays. He'll have a few starts throughout the year, but he'll take some time to develop and grow. Trey Tucker, same thing. He'll take time to develop and grow. So far, 4 picks in, your Las Vegas Raiders did a solid job this NFL draft recap. And then in round 4, they had 2 selections, and they did pretty solid in round 4, if I have to give them credit. In round 4, they go for their only secondary one, and they went and got Bennett from Maryland. Now, he was opposite of Dante Banks, who went in the first round to the New York Giants. So for having a guy in Bennett who was a number 2 corner at Maryland, it's about adding depth. The Las Vegas Raiders did not have a lot of corners at their position. They went and got and filled that with Bennett in round 4. And then you had Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback from Purdue. And this could be the steal of this entire draft. Aiden O'Connell is insanely accurate. He has a big arm, and he is someone that I think could make an impact in Las Vegas if given an opportunity. This is a guy in Aiden O'Connell who, when I watched at Purdue, he was calm, he was collected, he had that leadership quality at the quarterback position in Purdue. And I even spoke to somebody who was very knowledgeable about Purdue, and he told me that this is going to be a great kid, and he thinks that this is a solid move for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, hey, if he knows about Purdue and he's very knowledgeable about Purdue, why not listen to a guy who's kind of an expert on that? So, Aiden O'Connell, strong arm. He's somebody who has a lot of potential, good upside for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I think in round 4, getting Aiden O'Connell from Purdue, I think, not this year, but maybe year 2, year 3, he could show some good upside for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, later in the draft, you get Christopher Smith from Georgia. You get Amari Burney from Florida, and then they get a defensive tackle from Arizona State. These 3, I really can't say much about it because it's really tough to see if they'll even make the opening day roster, but hopefully they do. So that was talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, who got an A-. Let's keep it going. Let's talk about the LA Chargers for a minute, because I'm a very big fan of them too. The LA Chargers getting an A- here, and I will explain why. The LA Chargers, similar to the Las Vegas Raiders, filled every need that they had to accomplish in this draft. The LA Chargers in round 1 had to get a receiver here. They had to get a weapon for Justin Herbert. So they went out and got Quentin Johnston from TCU. Now, depending on what you feel about Quentin Johnston, that is pointless. But regardless, he was a need. And, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, their injury situation, as long as you have a young rookie receiver in Quentin Johnston, the LA Chargers will be fine this upcoming few years. Them also getting a defensive end from USC does help them on the pass rush as well. You do have some aging veterans like Khalil Mack. Joey Bosa has been there for a long time. So adding some young blood to the front 4 is good for the LA Chargers. And getting a linebacker in Danon Henley from Washington State is definitely going to add some depth to a linebacking core that needed it. The moral of the story with the LA Chargers, very similar to Las Vegas Raiders, is you had to add depth, and they accomplished it. They also got a receiver in round 4 and Darius Davis from TCU, so they went back-to-back with getting TCU receivers. You also got Jordan McFadden, an offensive guard from Clemson, and then they rounded it out by getting Max Duggan, the quarterback from TCU. Now, like I said with the Raiders, round 5, 6, and 7, it's always tough to say how these players are going to turn out. They could turn into a Brock Purdy. They could turn into a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Could turn into a Tom Brady. But there's also a chance that they could be cut on the opening day roster, or they could be a one-year player in the NFL. So Las Vegas Raiders, A-. LA Chargers, A-. Now let's talk about a team I totally disagree with, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. I really don't have a lot of positive to say about the Kansas City Chiefs draft. And yes, I want everyone to bookmark this because inevitably one of these guys is going to turn into a superstar because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. But Felix from Kansas State, I felt like that was a reach in round 1. I mean, this is a guy from Kansas State that was going to be a low second-round pick, early third-round pick, and the Kansas City Chiefs took it in round 1. Very questionable. In round 2, same thing. They took Rashee Rice from SMU, a guy who I didn't even see being a late second-round pick. That was a reach as well for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Brett Veach is a very smart guy in Kansas City. Okay? This is a Kansas City Chiefs team that just won the Super Bowl. They really don't have a lot of depth, a lot of needs that they would have to address. But offensive line, I don't think is it. I don't think going out and getting Morris from Oklahoma was a good move for Kansas City. I really didn't understand the point of that move. They also went and got multiple corners and multiple defensive ends. And I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at the Kansas City Chiefs and going, so you are trying to get all these defensive ends and defensive tackles, but you didn't get any linebackers? You did all of this, but you didn't add any running backs to get some depth at running backs? I don't know. I just look at it, and I look at the Chiefs organization, and I go, this draft just very underwhelming. A lot of reaches. I don't see the point. Seattle Seahawks get an A-. I'm a huge fan of what Seattle did here. In fact, I will talk positive about Seattle majority of the time, because I'm a huge fan of what John Schneider and Pete Carroll have created. Now, Devon Witherspoon was the best defensive back in this draft class, so him going 5th overall by Seattle was a great move. Getting the best receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba from Ohio State was a fantastic move by the Seattle Seahawks at 20. 37th overall, adding depth by getting a good defensive end in Derek Hall from Auburn made sense. And getting an extra running back in Zach Charbonnet from UCLA was smart as well. They added some offensive line help by getting Anthony Bradford from LSU. So they get some protection for Geno Smith. Very smart. They went and got Mike Morris and Cameron Young, 2 guys to fill up the front 4 for Seattle to add some depth. So I really have nothing negative to say about the Seattle Seahawks draft. Very positive when it comes to the NFL draft. Arizona Cardinals get an A here on the Sports Angle at PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. So Arizona Cardinals traded down from pick 3 to pick 12, and then traded up from 12 to 6 to get 25 years later, after selecting Paris Johnson Sr., they took Paris Johnson Jr., offensive lineman from Ohio State. He indeed was the best offensive lineman in this draft. Good move for them. In the second round, they went and got B.J. Ojulari from LSU, which is definitely going to add depth to that organization. That was a need the Arizona Cardinals had to get. Garrett Williams, a defensive back from Syracuse, was a smart pick in round 3. And Michael Wilson from Stanford, 94th overall. But the Arizona Cardinals, what I like about their draft and what I've always liked about certain teams is that they're not flashy, but they make sense. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals getting John Gaines, an offensive lineman for UCLA. It's not flashy, but they needed offensive line help for Kyler Murray. It made sense. Getting a backup quarterback in Clayton Tune from Houston. It made sense. The Arizona Cardinals are missing a backup quarterback. They need to have somebody in case Kyler Murray gets injured. So when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, I give them an A as well. This is a team that did very solid in this NFL draft, and I give them a lot of praise. And then lastly, we have the Chicago Bears. This is the team that I support here on PR Connection Radio, even though I will be talking about the Las Vegas Raiders here on Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com the voice of new media. And I give the Chicago Bears a B+. Now, I will explain why. I think they did good, but I don't think they did great. The Chicago Bears getting a B+, Darnell Wright was a solid move, but they really wanted to get Paris Johnson. I truly believe the Chicago Bears would have had it their way. They would have gotten the best offensive lineman in Paris Johnson than the second best in Darnell Wright. Round 2, they go with Garvin Dexter, defensive tackle from Florida. Look, he's decent. He's solid. But I just really don't know if he was the right fit for the Bears overall. Tyreek Stevenson in round 2. He's a good defensive back. Is he ever going to be a true number 1? I doubt it. But he'll be a solid number 2. He'll be a slot corner for the Chicago Bears. And Zach Pickens, defensive tackle from South Carolina. Very similar to Garvin Dexter. Solid move. Is going to add depth to the Bears, but I just don't know if it was the right pick. Getting a running back from Texas and Roschon Johnson. That was a good move for the Chicago Bears. They definitely need to add more running backs to the Chicago Bears organization. That was a solid move. I'll give them credit there. Tyler Scott from Cincinnati. Add some depth. They need to have some more receivers. It makes sense. Noah Sewell going in round 5. Very underrated pick. A guy who was a very solid guy at Oregon. He'll be a good depth piece. And then them getting Travis Bell, Terrell Smith, and Kendall Williamson. Once again, it's really hard to project what happened with those guys. But they're really good guys to talk about. Now, as we are doing our NFL Draft recap show here on Sports Angle, I want to talk about a few teams I think did great and a few teams I think did absolutely terrible. So to start this out, the one team that I think had the best draft was the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans get an A. Actually, honestly, they get an A+ from me. The Houston Texans nailed it out of the park by getting the best quarterback in C.J. Stroud and getting the best defensive end in Will Anderson. This is a Houston Texans team that, just like the Houston Astros, went for a grand slam and absolutely nailed it. Arizona Cardinals, I talked about them getting an A. Philadelphia Eagles, they get an A- from me. This is a Philadelphia Eagles team that had to get a lot better defensively. They had to add some more weapons on defense. And getting Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, well, hey, congratulations, the Philadelphia Bulldogs. You are becoming the Georgia Eagles. Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks, LA Chargers. I already mentioned them as A-. But the New York Giants, I give props to as well. The New York Giants have done incredibly well this NFL draft, filling up needs when necessary. I like what they did. Jacksonville Jaguars, I give them an A-. You have to build around Trevor Lawrence. You have to build up and protect him. Anton Harrison will accomplish that. Chicago Bears got a B+, like I mentioned. Los Angeles Rams will get a B+. I like some steady moves they made. Stetson Bennett, I don't know about that. And when it comes to teams I think did really poorly in this draft, we got to start out with certain teams. Now, the New England Patriots are kind of average for me. I really don't get why they did what they did. So when it comes to New England Patriots, I'm not a fan of it. Indianapolis Colts, outside of their first round, a lot of their moves were shaky for me. New York Jets, they reached Will McDonald and reached on a lot of their picks this year. Washington Commanders, their picks really fell flat for me. New Orleans Saints, a lot of injury concerns with some picks, and I don't understand why they picked certain players that they did. Tennessee Titans. This is a Tennessee Titans team that I just kind of question, what their purpose is. Like, what are they trying to do? Cleveland Browns, I think that they did a very mediocre draft this year. Miami Dolphins, I don't buy into the hype. I don't think Cam Smith or Devin Achane is going to make them better. And then Kansas City Chiefs, I gave them a D-. To me, they had the worst draft. out of everybody here. So I will say this when it comes to Sports Angle 2023 NFL Draft Recap. This is Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. Now, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli, and I will say to everyone watching around the world, this has been an amazing NFL draft. It's been a lot of fun. We did our preview show. We did a live stream, that 4.5-hour live stream we did here on PR Connection Radio. And now we're doing our NFL draft recap here on the Sports Angle. And I say to everyone watching around the world, I had a lot of fun tonight. I had a lot of fun throughout the entire experience. And I will say that my voice will definitely be thankful next week when I don't have to yell as much as I did this week. So I will say to everyone watching around the world, this is Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. Follow us on social media at Sports Angle on PR. Follow all of the content on PR Connection Radio. Cozy Stone. You have Aunt Shirley. You have Crypto and Cash. Brian Gardner. We Got the Power. So much great content on here. They also have a show on here called Vegas Hockey Hub at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday. So if you're a hockey fan and you love Vegas, I'll definitely check that out. And the Sports Angle is going to be every Friday night now, from now on, starting in May, will be Friday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. And until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli, and this was our Vegas Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media, breaking down the NFL draft here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. And I just want to very quickly continue a little conversation real quick. Sorry for the intermission. Just had to take care of something real quick. Now, as we're doing our NFL draft recap here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionradio.com, the voice of new media. So, Carolina Panthers, I would give them a B+. I think it was very positive getting Bryce Young. Some question marks about later in the draft, but you know what? Overall, Carolina did what they accomplished. They set out what they set out to do. So I would say B+ for them. Green Bay Packers, B+. Lucas Van Ness will obviously be the huge question mark there. Will he turn out to be great for Green Bay? Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a B. You know, when I give a team a B grade in the NFL draft, let me explain what that is. Solid moves. I really can't complain much about it. I just don't think they were the moves I would have made. All right, they're solid. I have nothing against it. I just don't think that it's the moves I would have necessarily made. Tampa Bay would be that move. I personally wouldn't have done what they did in round one, but hey, I'm not a general manager. I don't get paid millions of dollars a year. Same with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills get a B. Not because of Dalton Kincaid, but them moving up to get Dalton Kincaid. I honestly think he would have still been there if the Buffalo Bills would have waited. So I say for the Buffalo Bills, it's not a knock on Kincaid. It's just the fact that they moved up to go and get him. Cincinnati Bengals get a B. I mean, really, there wasn't that many holes for Cincinnati to go after. Myles Murphy, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I honestly didn't think they were going to get a defensive end in the first round. I didn't expect that. Hence why I give them a B. Hopefully it turns out well for Cincinnati. Denver gets a B. I mean, overall, they really didn't have much to deal with. They didn't have a first-round pick. But with what they did, it was solid. San Francisco 49ers get a B- for me. San Francisco 49ers not having a pick until day 2 also kind of sets them back a little bit. But with what San Francisco was able to get with it, I say I did pretty well. Atlanta Falcons get a B. Bijan Robinson is going to be a huge factor on it later on. This draft grade goes from an A+ to a D. But yeah, he'll be a huge question mark. I wouldn't have done it personally at the Atlanta Falcons. I think there was way bigger needs than the running back position, but we'll see how it pans out. Dallas Cowboys get a B-. I wouldn't have taken Mazie Smith when I did the live stream with Czar. I kind of trolled him a little bit about it. But with Mazie Smith, hey, Tyler Smith last year out of Tulsa, a lot of people were questioning that pick. He turned out to be an all-rookie offensive lineman. So we'll see how it turns out here. Hopefully I'm wrong. But I think with Mazie Smith, it was a little bit of a reach, but I think it's solid overall. Pittsburgh Steelers, they get a C+ for me. They're fine. You know, they were fine picks. I really don't agree with it a lot, but they're fine picks. Minnesota Vikings get a C+. I really don't understand the thinking of the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, this is a team entering a rebuild, but they're still acting like they're contenders. It's really puzzling. Detroit Lions get a C+ for at least trying during the NFL draft. Detroit gets a C+ for at least making an attempt at the draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know if that's going to pan out for them. Trade DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia for pennies on the dollar. Them doubling down and getting Jack Campbell, a linebacker at pick 18. They just had a lot, and I mean a lot, of reaches in this draft for Detroit. Baltimore Ravens get a C+. Once again, similar to Pittsburgh. They were fine picks. They're picks that I wouldn't have done personally. But, you know, Zay Flowers, maybe he could pan out. Hopefully later in the draft, Baltimore can find some steals in round 4, round 5. But yeah, these are our NFL draft grades here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionradio.com, the voice of new media. And as I'm recapping it here, Arizona Cardinals get an A. Atlanta Falcons get a B. Baltimore Ravens get a C+. Buffalo Bills get a B. Carolina Panthers get a B+. Chicago Bears get a B+. Cincinnati Bengals get a B. The Cleveland Browns get a C-. Dallas Cowboys get a B-. Denver Broncos, they get a B. Detroit Lions get a C+. Green Bay Packers, they get a B+. Houston Texans get an A+. Indianapolis Colts get a C. Jacksonville Jaguars, they get a minus. Kansas City Chiefs get a D-. Las Vegas Raiders get an A-. Los Angeles Chargers get an A-. Los Angeles Rams get a B+. Miami Dolphins get a C-. Minnesota Vikings get a C+. New England Patriots get a C. New Orleans Saints get a C-. New York Giants, they get an A+. The New York Jets get a C. Philadelphia Eagles get an A-. Pittsburgh Steelers get a C+. Seattle Seahawks, they get an A. San Francisco 49ers, they get a B-. Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a B. Tennessee Titans get a C-. And Washington Commanders get a C-. So this was episode 56 here of the Sports Angle at PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. And while we have the last 60 seconds here to talk about the show, I just want to point out that we are writing articles on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. So if you want to go to sportsangle.com, I've been writing articles on there for the last couple of years. And if you are interested in content about baseball, football, hockey, racing, you name it, we have it on the sportsangle.com. We also have all of our guests and all the links to all the guests we've had on the show in the past. So go to our website, thesportsangle.com, and also go to prconnectionradio.com and check out all the content and support everybody who is on the network. I also want to give a quick shout out, by the way, to the Las Vegas Aces for their brand new facility that has been created for them, the WNBA champions. They got a new facility built by Mark Davis. Vegas Golden Knights moving on to round 2. Congrats to them. And for baseball, Las Vegas Aviators are back, are 12-13 on the year, doing pretty solid. So yeah, to everybody around Las Vegas, just know that I love every single one of you. This is my town. This is my city. Las Vegas, this is my people. You know, I love Las Vegas. This is always going to be my hometown. So this is the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Raquelli. We are here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, the greatest city to ever exist, Las Vegas, Nevada. And until next time, I'm your host, Ian Raquelli. Have a good one.